In part one, we talked about choosing our one mic because we auditioned a few. We talked about placing it accordingly and optimizing your playing so that you as a drummer are ready to record. So what's next? Well, today we're talking about the EQ, compression, and reverb tricks we can do over in Logic or any other DAW like GarageBand that you may have to really pull the most out of these recordings and really see what we can do with audio recorded from the iPad. Hey everybody, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's go back through and solo these. First I'm going to turn off all the effects and all the sends, and then we're gradually going to add them back in, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. By the way, this channel here is my microphone that you're hearing right now, my voice coming through, so we're not going to touch that. So it's kind of interesting with the iPad audio. It doesn't sound so bad when I'm playing quietly, but as soon as I get going, well, quieter at least, as soon as I get going really loud, it just turns into this big distorted mess. And so if you're recording your drums with a phone or an iPad, what you'll want to do is either practice playing lighter or position your device further away from the kit so that it's not overpowering, just blowing out the microphone, because iPads and iPhones aren't meant to record high volume sources like other professional grade mics are. So that's something you'll want to work with, but you can have a little bit of fun with the fact that it's all compressed and distorted, because it is kind of a cool hip-hop-ish drum sound that is actually kind of cool to mix in with some of the other mics. We'll do a little bit of that in a second. So as for the effects, what I decided to do, looking at the 57 here, for this EQ curve, I decided to do a little bit of low-end boost because an SM57 is very mid-range heavy and lacking in low-end, so I boosted about 75 hertz. Pulled out a little bit of mids, some of those boxy kind of low mids that I felt were too overpowering. And there's a lot of presence with dynamic microphones up in this range here. So I decided to back that off a bit. Let's listen to it and we'll bring the EQ in. Overall, it really doesn't sound too bad. I think it's a nice balance, and with EQ, you can kind of pull back some of the frequencies that we're hearing too much of and boost what we're not hearing enough of. Let's take a look at the ribbon mic and the EQ I'm doing for it. So ribbon mics tend to be a lot more mellow, and so I boosted the top end a good deal, 2.5 dB, just to bring us a little bit more sizzle. And they're also not very present in the mid-range. Really, a ribbon is kind of the opposite of a dynamic in a way in terms of frequency response. So we decided to boost some of what was close to being cut with the dynamic. They get a little bit too boomy in the low end. You might like the boominess. You can decide for yourself. I decided to pull it back, but I still boosted some of the very low end, like 60 hertz, to really pull up some of the kick drum, give it a little bit more punch. the 81 really can't be beat in terms of capturing the top end from the cymbals. And so I didn't need to boost any top end down here on this one. But I did decide to pull back some of the low mids. It was a little bit boxy sounding, and I was getting too much of a hum from the kick drum, which you don't get when the 81 is up over the kit. But since I had it out in front of the kit, I was picking up more of that. I still decided to boost a little bit of 60 hertz, but I actually pulled back some top end because there was so much of it going on. Overall, I think that brings us to a good balance. Let's listen to the ribbon and the SM81 combined real quick. First we'll solo them, then listen to the combination. And actually, I think all three work together nicely because they all have different strengths and weaknesses. Let's check out the iPad and see if there's anything we can do to salvage it a little bit, because it does sound pretty messy. It's pretty dirty, but in maybe a cool way. It's funny, it's actually a lot of that low end down here, big low end that's just booming out the mic, and there's way too much upper mids here that are just painful. And so when we pull back either of those, it's a little bit more decent, but there's still a lot of, you could call it damage in that recording that can't really be fixed. And so the iPad, it does record very clean audio of my voice. Like if you just heard me talking, it would sound great, but it just doesn't do well with a lot of high volume stuff. So you certainly can record your kit with something like that, like maybe with a phone, but it's gonna work better if it's further away from the kit, because the iPad was only a few feet above the kit here, because it's my overhead camera. Or practice playing quieter and record yourself playing quietly. That'll work pretty well. Let's go back and let's listen to all four of them back to back, and then let's add in all of the reverb effects. I hope this video helped you out in some way or another, or I hope you at least found it interesting. And if you do have the resources to follow along with what I'm doing here, I hope you'll do so, and I hope you'll do your best to at least record yourself and make the most of whatever recording you can get. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll share it. Thanks guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.